Although chariot racing had not been seen in the Curragh since the 3rd century, the racing of the new horseless chariot became an unexpected feature in 1903 when the international motor race, the Gordon Bennett Cup, was held in Ireland. This race should have been held in England after they won the 1902 race, but the rulers of the day were not interested in having noisy, smelly, mechanical vehicles tearing along the roads, frightening the public and the horses. The secretary of the Automobile Club of Great Britain and Ireland, Mr. Claude Johnson, suggested Ireland as a suitable venue, partly on the grounds that the straightness of the roads would be a safety benefit. They finally settled on a course of 2 parts, forming a figure of 8 over 104 miles through the counties of Kildare, Carlow and Laois. The Polish-born racer Count Elliot Swarovski, who had lived in Ireland, was also a keen supporter. He is credited with having the olive green colour of the British cars changed to shamrock green in honour of the race being staged in Ireland. When Britain first raced in 1902, they would have preferred to race in the colours of the national flag. But America was already racing in red, Germany were in white, and French in blue. The Leinster Leader newspaper reported, "On the Curragh the finest sport will be seen, for there the racers will take advantage of the flat fields in their endeavour to pass one another, and the sight of 2 leviathans each travelling at the rate of 70 miles an hour within a few inches of one another will be a sight worth seeing." A total of 3 British Napier cars contested at the 1903 race, and they were pitted against French, German and American entries. The race was won by a Belgian, Kamil Janatsky, driving a Mercedes in German colours. The Irish Veteran and Vintage Car Club held the first Gordon Bennett commemoration run over the original racecourse in 1963, and it became an annual event in the early 1970s. In 2003, they celebrated the 100th anniversary of the Great Motor Race with a special event, welcoming classic petrol heads from all over the globe, and inviting them to join in this journey back in time and showcasing many pre-1930 cars. But instead of travelling at neck-breaking racing speed, this event invites one to take a gentler pace, while embracing the experience of the Irish countryside. In the 2018 rally, over 130 cars took part, ranging in vintage from 1900 to 1930. The event was supported by many veteran and vintage car enthusiasts, including Michael Gaynor in his 1930 Morris Minor Tourer, Dick Smith in his 1926 Rolls-Royce, and Fergus Cooper in his 1912 Argyll Tourer.
Yeah, I did my first Gordon Bennett, I think it was in 1993. We were watching the Morris Minor. I did it with Dick's Bullnose, Morris Cowley, and Brian was my co-pilot. And would you believe it? Brian Gaynor lost me that Gordon Bennett because after our lunch break, he forgot about the time and we were now late starting. And we got £600 penalty. That was the max you could get for being that late. And if that hadn't been got, we would have been the overall winners. 3 or 4 years now, different years, I finished fairly okay, you know. I think I was best Irish competitor 1 year as well. Second overall, I was the best ever now I had. The regulations and all that were, well, just fellas marking you off as you pass by. It wouldn't be near as rigid as in recent years. If you concentrated and you had a feel for the speed of around 25 miles an hour, you could do quite okay. And I think that's what I seem to have. And I think that was the same story with the year I drove Dick's Morris Cowley. Like my speed average was very good, except for the 1 hour late start, yeah. I think 2003. That was the year that Jim Cullen and his brother Estes now. Yeah, they won it that year. Yeah, yeah. Because I remember going down to the hotel that evening and had the results and so forth. So they were delighted to win it because Jim had been trying for years. I did a Gordon Bennett with Jim as the note reader, and again, talk about hard luck. We actually were 100 meters from having it won when the bloody car ran out of petrol. So I was never meant to win, and Jim was disgusted. It was the nearest he had ever got.
Yeah, I suppose the Gordon Bennett was always something that I was interested in doing when I was motor racing, and when I gave up motor racing, I had very good friends in the Vintage Car Club, and they kind of introduced me to the cars, and then I eventually decided to buy one, and I started off with a Cowley, and I think that was the first car I done the Gordon Bennett in, and then we went on to get the Rolls Royce that I have today. That car, when we bought it, had to be totally restored, and it turned out very good. The car, we were very happy with it. It ran very well, and we went on and won the Gordon Bennett in '96. A son of mine, Neville, done the Gordon Bennett with me for a good few years, and in '99, Neville was doing it with me as well. But I think we couldn't wake him up that morning. He went to a party that night, and he wasn't great the next morning. So I had to leave him. I had to go on my own. So I arrived down for the rally, and I had no navigator, and Jim Cullen was there, and Jim's car had given trouble the day before. And I asked Jim, would he come with me? So he said, yeah. As everybody knows, Jim is a very good navigator. So we went on and we won the Gordon Bennett, which was fantastic. And I think it was the first time Jim won it. The competition end of the Gordon Bennett was always the thing that interested me more. I loved the competition and the regularity sections, and it was always great to be there on the morning and see everyone working out the routes and trying to get the times right. And everyone was very busy, nobody really much time to talk to you. It's very easy to get it wrong because you make a mistake on the road section, and that's the end of the rally for you, or something goes wrong, you get a puncture or the clutch starts slipping or something. That has happened to us on a few occasions. And this time it was very good. Everything worked for us, and we finished third in our class, which was tremendous.
My first Gordon Bennett rally was in 2004. Unfortunately, it was the year that my dad passed away. I'd never actually driven the car, which is an Argyll, a 1912 touring car. I'd never driven it other than a meter in the workshop while Dad might be trying out, testing stuff and that. When my dad passed away, his older brother Sidney confronted me and he says, I hope you'll be doing the Gordon Bennett rally in your dad's car. So I told Sidney, well, I've never actually driven the car. Instantly he says, well, I'll be up next weekend and get you motoring in that car. I think your dad would like you to drive it. I'm really honoured to drive Dad's car. The history of the car goes back a long way. In fact, he had the car way before 1966. He bought it as a chassis with an engine still mounted on the chassis. Pretty much was a total rebody build. He was lucky enough though to have the original doors, which really helped in getting a proper copy of the bodywork. It was actually a chauffeur-driven car, and the chauffeur had taken off all the brass wear off the car and had stored it under his bed. Dad was actually even thrilled to get the windscreen as well. The work that Dad put into that car, to me, makes it just sentimental beyond reason. Even when I drive it, I feel his presence. The work that my dad would have done would have been easier to construct a car from start. In fact, you weren't actually trying to copy somebody else's work or a manufacturer's work. So it really was a labour of love, and many people told him even when he bought it and all the way through that he'd never get the car running. So for me, when he finally got the car ready for the road in 1990, we were all hoping, and the real test was to get round to Gordon Bennett. First 3 or 4 rallies we didn't finish. We were having trouble with steel tyre rims just disintegrating. They were the original ones, and steel didn't have the strength that it had when they were first made. So regularly we were coming back on a trailer and hoping just to get round the Gordon Bennett. For us it would be the stamp that it was restored and it's working right, and it's the car that we want. Later on through the 90s and that Dad would always be tinkering away on the car. I think I acted as the pits, in the sense that I get in under the car and pull out the various parts, and he's happily get working on them. I'd say I love doing the Gordon Bennett car rally, the variation of cars there, the excellent condition of them all, and to see them running. You can go to a museum, it's just not the same thing. The event itself, like to get around, yes, our car's got around plenty of times now, but you always have to be ready and expect trouble and some parts to give you difficulty. This year, luckily enough, I got round the Gordon Bennett. I think we're all a little bit crazy. We don't have to do this. I know when I finished this Saturday and brought the car home on the Sunday, I was absolutely exhausted. I looked at the car, I had it up on the trailer, and I'd just keep on going in maybe for another cup of coffee before I'd unload everything and tidy it back into the workshop. And still, yes, I can't wait till next year now, and I'll be taking the car out again.